Welcome back to another episode of Measured. We appreciate you tuning in today. We are going to be talking a little bit more on AI, and I know that's been our topic here the last couple of episodes, but there's a few different articles that I came across that just kind of back the change on what people are seeing, what Google is doing, and what analytics or what Google has added to Google Analytics just to kind of solidify that what we're looking at, what we've been talking about truly is kind of that future of where we're at. We'll have our customer question and always end with our featured project. And so the first part is just kind of talking about that shift we can't ignore anymore. And that is talking about AI. And when we started talking about it and where we are today, it has changed quite a bit. And what people are starting to see and experience and just how probably you in general are using AI is completely different. And honestly, a lot of people are just truly trusting AI completely, which I wouldn't always agree with. But it's just kind of realizing that search engines used to just send you the visitors and you turn those visitors into customers. And now people are really changing to search for an answer and not so much taking the time and clicking through different links to see what other people were saying. And that's kind of that mind shift of realizing that you might have that answer, you might be that best option, but what if you aren't being shown and people aren't taking the time to click through to your site? And so in these last couple of weeks, there's been about 3 separate stories that we'll be talking about each of them that made that shift from impossible. It's just impossible to ignore anymore is kind of what I'm trying to say there. And we'll dive into each one of them a little bit and just how that might be relevant to you. And it's just interesting on realizing that it is all about those answers and realizing that you need to be giving those answers for you to be that relevant option as we go forth. So the first one, that first story we're going to talk about is it was back in May 12th, and the CEO of Condé Nast, and I probably am saying that first word wrong, but his name is Roger Lynch, and he runs Vogue, The New Yorker, GQ, Wired, Vanity Fair, and more. So it's a publisher. And on a live broadcast, I'm going to read some of this, so if I keep looking down, you know why. He had said that he told his teams to plan their businesses as if search traffic were zero, not declining, not softening, zero. And so it's just taking a moment, soaking that in. It's just like he's telling his team to plan for nothing. And his reasoning was that for 3 years in a row, they had been forecasting a drop in search traffic. For 3 years in a row, the actual drop was worse than they predicted. And at some point, they stopped forecasting and started budgeting at zero. And if you don't really fully understand how publishers full on work online, most of it is obviously the traffic comes in, they sell those ads based on those people coming in to their sites. So you start to realize that if you don't have people coming, how are you selling those spaces for that? So he had went on to say he does not expect literally zero. He expects search to settle at a single-digit percentage of total traffic, but very low. And there was another little data piece that we found that Chartbeat found small publishers lost 60% of their search referral traffic over 2 years. Google search traffic to news publishers fell about 51% of referrals in 2023. In 2023 to around 27% by late 2025. In that, Mr. Lynch put it simply, he said now he has to go to a second page of Google to find organic traffic, just kind of meaning that the normal unpaid listings, other than an ad, he has to jump onto page 2. And it's not so much, this is at major publishers. This isn't totally, I'm not trying to freak you out by any means for that. And it's just realizing that people are clearly seeing their search traffic drop. And I wouldn't say that we have really come across that on our small business sites and even medium to large business sites that we work with, because we've had people grow, especially over the last 2 years, and even this last year, month over month and year over year. So we're not experiencing that full on drop. And again, that they're publishers, so it's completely different. And we talked about that in one of those episodes, I think it was a couple ago, where with one of Google's core updates on how they were giving credibility back to the brand itself and not to those major list sites like what a publisher would be. So the second article that kind of is backing everything that we've been talking about was Google has redesigned its search box and called it the biggest upgrade in search in over 25 years. The new box expands as you type, accepts images and files, and offers AI-powered suggestions instead of just autocomplete. It also made Gemini 3.5 Flash the default model in AI mode. In the version that search answers in a conversation instead of a list of links, and it previewed information agents coming still this summer. These are tools that monitor the web and bring updates to you so you never have to go looking. Again, so we're talking about obviously how publishers are expecting no traffic. Google is redefining their search box, and that it's crazy to think that is the largest update that they've done to that in 25 years. And it is realizing that if you aren't showing up in those AI results, that more than likely your option of being a choice just in organic search results is going to be lower and lower on the page than it ever has been. And it's just nuts to see. I know it's not fully rolled out, because if you go on Google right now and do a search, I have seen it a couple of times, but it's not consistent every time I go. And you'll know when you get there and it's different. And I was going to take some screenshots, but I couldn't get it to come back up for me before this episode because I had seen it and noticed it right away, because Google's search box has been so consistent for so many years. But just realizing the redirection that Google's trying to take with that. And Google's always been about giving you the best answer the fastest. Like that was the whole part of organic, and them finding you credible and putting you at the top was that they thought you were that relevant option. Well, search is no longer just a doorway to other websites. I mean, it's becoming that destination itself. It is becoming that result that you don't have to go to all those other pages to keep clicking and looking. And I'm going to find it really interesting as we keep going on to see how many people are going through multiple pages before they come in. How many people are just going to that Google search result or that AI overview, and that is all they needed. And to think that that might be all that happens is just bizarre in how people are going to continue to learn and continue to experience AI, especially online. Well, I shouldn't say especially online. Almost everyone uses AI online unless you have your own LLM internally. But having that data of knowing how people are getting to you will be extremely interesting. And that leads into that third story that I referenced in the beginning, that we had those 3 in the last couple of weeks. And on this goes back on May 15th, Google added AI assistant traffic as a visible source in Google Analytics 4. So Google Analytics is that free analytics tool that Google offers, and all of you already use, or if you're working with an agency, they've set up for you. It is how you measure your traffic. It's how you go on and see how many new users, active users, percentage of engagement, where they're spending their time, pages that they visited, all the different things. I mean, you can do so many different things within Google Analytics. But now, for the first time, you can see how many people are arriving at your site from ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and other AI tools instead of guessing. And Google's kind of always tracked your referral traffic in acquisition. Like if you went to your traffic acquisition reports, you could switch it to a source/medium and go and just look out and see the different ways that people were coming in. And it could have even been a referral site. We have a company that we work with, or one of our customers, I should say, pays to be on this other site that is extremely relevant to them. And we do track how many people come from that site onto theirs. And it's all through that referral and referral traffic. And so now Google is just making it easier than it ever had been for you to be able to see it. So to find it, you can go to Google Analytics, go to the reports section, and look under acquisition. You are looking for a new channel grouping for AI or LLM traffic. And if you do one thing after this episode, look for that number. However, it's probably small today. It'll be something that you really want to pay attention to over this next year, just to see how that number has changed, how people are actually using search. Because we're going to sit here and talk about how it's changing and how it's changing for these other industries and how relevant it's been for different industries. And I can tell you right at the moment that we have a few customers that have, nowhere near has taken over the percentage of traffic that's coming in, whether that was through organic or through paid or direct. It's not close to that, but it is starting to show up. And as we keep getting into this world, and especially as Google keeps pushing AI overviews, I think that's going to play more into an effect into how people are coming onto your site. But even in those AI overviews, they're not always giving you multiple options to be sorted or sourced. And so that's kind of the scary point or part all about it. We kind of referenced this in the beginning, and this episode is completely not to freak you out on how that percentage was hitting publishers harder than your own site. And again, it's just kind of back to that branded traffic that we were talking about. Any AI or LLM has to have a source to go back to something. So you have to have your site, you have to have your content, you have to have that conversational format. You got to have those questions that you are answering. You have to have all those trust signals. So yes, that predictions of those publisher sites are going to affect differently than your own brand site. And by a brand site, I just mean your own company's site. So we're not sharing this information to freak anyone out, other than just kind of showing that in different industries, obviously it is affecting differently, but realizing that yes, it's affecting them probably more right now than it is you, but we just have to make sure that we are paying attention. We know what we need to be changing as times keep changing and how search keeps evolving and how Google itself keeps affecting how that evolves is kind of that main point of just knowing that where you are, how you're standing, and what could you be doing differently. And a couple other notes that we just kind of put together here for it is AI. It's really first of its kind when it is changing how search has happened. When someone is wanting that information, they're wanting it now. And unfortunately, it's becoming easier and easier to get that answer faster. And paying attention to your site load time will be a large factor that you should care about. You should care how fast your site is loading. How fast can someone get the data that they're looking for? So when they come through on AI, they see that quick answer and they click on to come on in. Don't lose them just because your site loaded slow. And so that is realizing that on a mobile and desktop, maybe you're displaying different things. Maybe on your desktop, you do have a gorgeous background video playing, but maybe when you realize on mobile, you're not going to really see a lot of that video anyway. Let's get that message out. Let's have that message right there. Or if they're coming in for our product, have that product readily available. And for me, a lot of it's going to come back to content, and content is really about everything. And just knowing that you need to have that content to back it all up. It's also kind of understanding the difference in your keywords, whether they're informational, transactional, and when I say if it's an informational search, transactional search, a local search, all those are going to affect differently in AI and the results that are coming back. And I mentioned it many different times. Most of what we are seeing so far with our customers is that those informational keywords, those informational searches are what is being referenced the most so far. And what that happens is that it is you giving out those answers. It's that content that's answering a question that is providing information, informational keywords that help you in AI. But as people keep using it for different things, that will change for transactional, and it will change for local as well. And just knowing that with local, a lot of times if someone's doing a local query inside an LLM, they're going to have to be pretty specific on whether they're looking for a web designer in Spencer, Iowa, or near me. It would be that your LLM actually knew where you were. So there's things like that it's just realizing that some of that stuff will happen, and just kind of knowing what you should be doing about it. And I think the biggest thing is just stop treating Google search traffic as a foundation. Treat it as if it is a channel among several. What if it went away tomorrow? What would you do? Thinking that, yes, it is a huge component of how people find you online. But where is also people's attention? What are you doing out on different social platforms? How are you sharing your information? How do you continually communicate with your customers? This could be beyond just a social platform, or you recording a video, or you putting out some posts on social. We talked about the power of email, again, a few episodes ago. It's just having that strategy and realizing, how are you going to stay engaged? How are you going to stay in the forefront of everyone, and strengthening those signals with them, building those relationships. Repeat customers, I mean, if you're a business, you understand what repeat customers are for you. But you also should understand that you should communicate with them. They should understand if you just put something new out, you offer a new service, you have this new tool, whatever it happens to be. If you're not sharing it, they won't know. But those are sometimes the best. It is your own content. We talked about that many times, that it is your own data, your own customers that you've built up, instead of relying on whether you're paying for search and for people to come in, or just obviously working on your own organic search. That the power of just having that is bigger than ever, and just realizing that that is something that you should continually to work on, continue to strategize around, and not taking any of that for granted. And that would just be a common thing, to not take anything for granted, but just realizing the power of your own data, your own customers will continue to play as search continues to evolve and change. And we're here for it. We're excited. We're excited to just kind of see how things keep changing. I think that Google's change to the search box or the search bar is huge. In my opinion, it is large change, and how it's going to keep distributing out and giving those AI overviews initially. So there'll be probably more topics or chats around that as we continue to watch that come through. I personally think it's nice that analytics is making it easier to see your search or your AI traffic, you could go dig for it. Now they're going to make it a little bit more accessible. So, I mean, that's just a thank you. People want to know. And that's awesome that they're starting to realize that is going to be an important factor, that people do want to track that. They want to easily be able to go on and see if you are in analytics ever. You realize that's really easy to see your direct, your organic search, your organic social, paid search, paid shopping. I mean, it's always in the past done a really great job of having that all separated out. So having that with AI now will just be an awesome option. And if you have any questions on it, don't ever hesitate to reach out. We are always happy to answer those questions, go through your data. We're not afraid to have that conversation about your data. We're not here to hide anything. And if you're not even a customer of ours, we still will help look at your data and let you know from our opinion where we think you sit or where you could improve and what we would do to help you improve. We're very open individuals to kind of have just that real conversation because there's nothing to hide. And as things keep changing, you can't hide it. That's just where we're moving towards in this AI world. And really, there's no going back now. So it's just how can we embrace it? How can we help you get found pretty much everywhere? And that's just kind of where that all is going to take us. And with that, we're going to jump into our customer question of the day. And if you don't realize, on 54i, we started as a web agency way back when. I've been doing web since 2009. And so although 154i is only a few years old, we've been doing web for many years. And I got asked the other day, is my website ever really done? And it kind of made me smile. And it was a site we just launched. And obviously when you launch your site, you're so excited. You feel like you've hit that corner. You turn the corner, I guess I should say, to that finish line. And you just feel like, whew. But I think they were asking because I was giving them some ideas on different areas that they could grow their site. And they're a little taken back because obviously they just launched their site. And it's just kind of realizing that don't ever just feel like you shouldn't be doing something or adding to it. And so for my short answer, is my site ever really done? I would say no. Like yes, you're probably not going and changing the design every day. And it doesn't need to change. And the main code of your site does not need to change. It's just realizing that your website is more of like your online storefront. It is, if you aren't talking about what you are doing, no one knows. Google can't reference it back. ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, whichever LLM you're using, can't reference you back. If they don't know what you're doing, they wouldn't know what you're doing if you're not talking about it. So I do think that yes, you should have a website. So if you don't have a website, get a darn website. But having your website and just really sharing meaningful, whether they're stories, success stories, projects, what you're working on, what worked. I mean, maybe if you're very open, sharing what didn't work. Not too many of my customers are willing to go onto that side of it. But it is just knowing that the more you are willing to share and maintain, the better off you're going to be. And so don't ever just feel like it is just a project. It is a tool. It is an extremely important tool in this AI world that we live in. And I've always thought web has been extremely important. And obviously I'm biased because I build websites, but have that site, maintain your site, keep it up to date. Don't get a site, put it live and not touch it for a year because you just think, oh, well, I just did that. Yes, you did just launch it. And yes, I am sure some of your main core services haven't changed. And that's perfectly fine. But you're a business. You got a lot going on. Share it. Let people know. You take the time to share stuff out on social, which is great. And you definitely should be. But there's also a time and a place to share that on your website. So have that on your site, share that information. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Let people find you. Obviously, you want to be found. That is how you get more customers. So we're going to move on to our featured project, and it is Tiger Sports Academy. They are out of Spencer, Iowa, so they're here in Spencer. They are a baseball and softball training facility. And so we had the joy of working with them. They're a nonprofit organization here in town. We choose a few projects a year, and it's not like a set number, but Tiger Sports Academy was one of them that we decided that we would donate all of our time so they could have a site. And we love being able to work with nonprofits when they are, especially this one was a brand new nonprofit and they just launched this year. So it was exciting to work with them, showcase off their facility, showcase off all of their donators. You can find their upcoming clinics. Again, it's a baseball and softball facility. It is membership driven. You can go in, you can rent, or I shouldn't say rent, you would schedule out whichever part of their facility that you are wanting to use in different time increments. So when you go and show up, that you do have that batting cage available. Sorry, I can't talk, or the bullpen, or whatever you're choosing. And so check them out, tigersportsacademy.com. That is all we have for you today. We greatly appreciate you tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.